What's up everyone, Z-Dub here, and thank you for stopping by and checking out my review of Phantom Covert Ops for the Oculus Rift and Oculus Quest VR platforms. Phantom Covert Ops is an Oculus exclusive stealth-based action FPS game that takes place entirely seated in a kayak. Now a big thank you to nDreams for providing me with a review copy so I was able to really dig in and check out what this title was all about. Now the premise sounded different than anything we have had in VR to date. A kayaking stealth adventure armed with a sniper rifle and suppressed weapons. Well, sign me up. That sounded very interesting, but I was really wondering if there was going to be enough variety to hold my interest here and if there's going to be enough to sustain a full campaign. I'm happy to say I think there is, and I was pretty much blown away with what I played, and it exceeded my expectations every bit. Now, if this is your first time stopping by for one of my reviews, let me start by saying this. All of my game reviews are done from a critically honest perspective. I feel like you shouldn't have to force yourself or convince yourself to have fun with something. So if you're like me and you're looking for the best experiences out there, ones that are truly worthy of your time and money, you've come to the right place. So if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do, so you don't miss out on any future videos, and hit that button and bell and you'll be up to date with all my content. Now let's get into this. Phantom Covert Ops. Can kayaking and gunplay combine to create a truly dynamic VR experience? Is it fun to maneuver a kayak around in stealth while trying to do various objectives? Is this a complete campaign or just another on-rails tech demo? Well, this title really surprised me and caught me off guard here with how much I actually enjoyed it. It's a full campaign and it is not just an on-rails experience. It's super engaging and I really was immersed the entire time I had the headset on. From the moment the title screen, menus, and audio came up, I could tell this was a high level of refinement and polish and care put into this. This has the feelings and makings of a blockbuster AAA release. Now the game starts out right with you being deployed in the water. It feels like you're at the start of a theme park ride. It felt so cool when you first put that oar in the water and actually move. nDreams did such a terrific job of nailing the kayak and water mechanics. It really could be a game all itself, and then on top of that they delivered a solid stealth shooting experience here. There were many times when I was playing I really felt like I was actually in a kayak on a river. It was way more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be in a VR setting, and after playing through this game I think I could actually get out on a kayak in real life. It felt that real, but there's one caveat here. My shoulders are so sore. You really have to paddle the entire time in this game, and it's a solid workout, and I think a pretty good one. I enjoyed the pacing of this title as well. Traversing down the river was super enjoyable and it never grew tiring, besides my shoulders. And I really felt like I was on the river behind enemy lines. Everything felt so real and authentic. I really enjoyed the way this game was played. It felt so incredible and satisfying to sneak around in this kayak. I loved squeezing by enemies or cameras or ducking right into some tall weeds right before a boat traveled by. Now the actual campaign weighs in at about 6 hours, and it's played over 7 missions. Each mission is graded by how you complete it, and it can offer some replay here to try to better your score. Now the missions, although they are linear, they give you a lot of freedom for how you choose to move through the landscape. I never once felt confined to a certain path. There's also a free play mode and several challenges that can be unlocked with leaderboards. There's actually a surprising amount of replay here in this package. Now, I was worried whether this concept could be tiring over a long campaign, but that's not the case here. The audio and voiceover is done very well that it keeps you immersed and engaged the whole time. There's actually a surprising amount of variety in these missions as you progress through the story as well. There's some twists that I'm not going to spoil, but doing what they did with the narrative really helped change things up along the way. There were a couple Metal Gear style moments that I really appreciated. Now nDreams did so many things well with this concept here to create this experience in VR. Now let me go over a few things that I appreciated about this. Most times we get shooters in VR, I play them in a standing position, mainly because when the avatar in the game is standing, if I play seated it feels off to me and I feel like Professor X with a gun. So it's really cool this title is set up to have your avatar seated in the kayak the entire time. So it actually feels correct to play this seated, and the presence and immersion is real. I noticed immediately how well the hands and body were mapped to mine. Personally, I prefer to see the full arms and body in VR, not just the floating hands, and I feel this title really nailed it. I felt like I was in the boat the entire time. Now let's touch on graphics and technical performance for a second. This demo I'm showing here is played on the Oculus Rift S at the highest settings. You can see here the graphics are incredible and really spot on for the theme here. I had zero technical issues, and I mean zero. No freezes, no frustrating restarts. Checkpoints and autosaves worked every time, and I never got stuck in the geometry of the map. Bravo to nDreams for that. That is one of my main complaints with a lot of VR titles, and I found none of that here. One thing I really noticed in the graphics was a very small detail, but I absolutely loved it. You can notice the moss and growth on top of the river water and displace it with your oar. I've been on water like this in real life, and it really gave me a realistic feel to my experience seeing it right next to me. I don't want to fall into water like this in real life, and I wouldn't want to here either. Now, as far as in-game UI, I really felt this was nailed as well. All of your guns have the ammo count right on them. You got pockets in your boat for your gear so you can see exactly what you got left, and it feels very natural to grab things. There's a screen on your kayak for stealth notifications, and it also gives you information about the enemy alert status. You also have a binocular you can use to tag areas and mark enemies and items of interest. At any time you can push a button to see where to go next with a perfect wayfinding system. I think this is critical for any game, VR or not. I also really like the detail of the in-world mission text and objectives. This really added to the feel and vibe of this title. Now, as far as the actual shooting and gun mechanics, they are done very well and all feel great to fire. The sniper rifle is incredibly fun to scope in on a target and use it in silence from the boat. Now, my only complaint on the gun mechanics is the reload. I think that could have been done a bit more realistic. In this title, when you're out of ammo, there's an audible sound letting you know it, but the magazine just disappears and you just grab a new one to put in. I personally would like the physical act of removing it myself, putting a new one in, and reinitializing it with the bolt or slide. It's a minor complaint, but one that was a slight miss in my opinion. So a big question here. Will you get motion sick? Well, yes and no. I found it best first to play in a 1-hour session. Eventually I could play longer, but the key was making sure I was oriented properly to the front of the boat. If at any time my seated position didn't match, my brain kind of felt funny about it. I played on a rotating chair, and I found it best to keep my feet on the floor to stop the chair from rotating, and at any time you can click the right stick to recenter your view. Now, having said that, I don't think motion sickness should keep anyone away here. You just need to make sure you keep your body oriented properly with the front of the boat, and everything is fine. Now, as far as lasting appeal and whether this is worth the price, I think there's a lot of value here combined with the great campaign and replayable challenges. So in closing, is this game for you? Well, if you're looking for a solid stealth boating adventure and you want to feel like James Bond in a kayak, I'd say yes. So for my fun or not recommendation, this is a highly recommended VR title if you own an Oculus Rift. I wouldn't go out and buy a Rift just for this, but if you already have one, this is a great addition to your VR library. This is a strong recommend, and it will definitely fill that fun gauge if this type of gameplay and experience appeals to you as it did to me. Now, if you played this or have anything to say about it, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear it. So thanks for stopping by and watching, and if you enjoyed this and you're interested in honest reviews focusing on whether a game is purely fun or not, or whether a game will wow you, subscribe so you don't miss out on any future gaming content. Well, I gotta get back and head down another river here, so I'll see you next time. This is Z-Dub out.